why isn't the debate culture helping depolarization but doing the opposite? I mean, the assumption would actually be that if you get two people together to debate with each other, to exchange arguments, with all the data that we have available today, right? It's so easy to figure out facts about reality. With all the knowledge that we have about what is a valid argument and what is not a valid argument, with all the knowledge about logic and how language works, how symbols can be connected into meaningful statements. With all that knowledge, it should be actually possible to get two individuals together, and they should get from, and this is the traditional view, right, that you have a thesis, an antithesis, and that you can come to something like a synthesis, where you can take both and put them together, both positions, and put them together. Why is this never happening, and why is this never the result of debates? Why is it polarizing people even more into the extremes instead of helping them see the true grains that are in the other position? I mean, if you look at debating culture, you would think that if there was this kind of progress happening, in the past 5 years, debate culture should actually have progressed, and the positions that are being expressed today should actually, compared to the positions that were expressed 5 years ago in the debate culture, should be more integrated. They should actually contain more of the opponent's views in their own. They should be more refined, more in touch with reality. But what you can observe is the opposite happening, which is that in debate culture, the positions that are being expressed seem to be more radical. They seem to be more one-sided and actually less capable of integrating the other position that are surrounding them. Why is this happening? This is weird, because what other instrument do we have to mediate between different positions, right? I mean, the traditional view, again, I think, is that debating, that talking, is the only way at getting somewhere, right? Where we can both share the same ground, but it's not getting us there. It's making us more and more polarized. What's happening there? And like, one of the suspicions that I have is that, for one, debate culture from the start is not set up as a culture of mutual understanding, but it is from the start set out as a form of competition, where you have a winner and where you have a loser. And from the start, the rules of what is a good point, or how you win an argument, are not objective. They're not something that's laid out and clear to everyone, like in boxing, where you know what the rules are. I think they know what the rules are. This is not so in debate culture. For example, when I watched the debate between Jordan Peterson and Matt Dillahunty, to me it was very obvious that from a purely debate point of view, Dillahunty had won. He had basically scored more points than Jordan Peterson. But this is not how people experience it. People from the other side of the line experienced it precisely the opposite way. They felt like Jordan Peterson had won, and this is weird. I mean, we should be able to at least agree of what's a good argument, when does somebody score a point, and people should be, just like in any kind of competition that we have, people should actually be willing, after the whole thing has finished, to admit that they've lost, or they have lost a specific argument. Yet this never happens. People never do. They never admit that they lost. They never admit that they made a bad point, and or that the other part. In other words, the thing that we take for granted in sports, we don't actually do in debating. What we do in debating is that no matter the utterances, no matter the position that has been expressed, we always try to twist it and to spin it as to prove that our side has won. And the result of this whole thing is that instead of debating, instead of actually discussing ideas and seeing how the other side equally might have a point, how the perspective of the other side might afford you to see things that you can't see when you're using your own way of framing a specific situation. Take, for example, George Lakoff's example. How do you think about the state? Right? In what terms do you think about the state? And he has been pointing out that conservatives think about the state more in terms of a strict father role, right? The state is like a father, punishing, protection, blah, blah, blah. While liberals tend to see the state more like an unconditionally loving mother, right? Support, no matter how you screw up, support, and so on. So instead of seeing how both frames in different contexts are equally valid and let you see something and afford you to see a reality, an aspect of reality that's there, debates never do that. Debates never get us to see how the other side equally has a point. Like, take the point that, of course, conservatives are right, that there is a certain degree of agency that you can expect from people. Of course, you should create social environments in which people are um, not only invited, but that they're incentivized to take up agency and to, from their own will and their own accord, actually get themselves together and do something, achieve something. This then having the consequence that they have proven something to them and to others, which raises self-esteem, yada, yada, yada. Of course, on the other hand, liberals have a point, and they're saying that, hey, this is not equally easy for everybody, and some people need more help than others, and particularly you need to have protective structures which just make sure that people are on the way and are not flattened by society, but actually supported by society to find their own way, right? Of course, this. I mean, who will deny that? It's. I think it's blatantly obvious that this is equally true. And instead of debates having as a result, we can start to see how the frame of the other side is equally valid within certain contexts and affords us to see something and to point to something that's true and important. What we do is we start to see the frames of the other side and the language of the other side more and more and more as an expression of the enemy, as an expression of the side that you don't want to be on, right? And this is what then basically forces people kind of to choose. You have to choose, either you use this kind of language in speaking about, for example, the state, and you have to use these kind of metaphors, because they then become, they're not just metaphors anymore, they're not just language anymore, but they are expressive of a group identity. And the moment we start switching more and more into group identity thinking, we are incapable of separating the language use and the facts from their belonging to a specific camp. Actually, if you, for example, as a progressive, start expressing views around how you should have expectations towards people and not be always unconditionally just giving, the more you start doing that, your own camp starts perceiving you as a traitor, because you're using language that you're not allowed to use. You're using language from the other side, language from the other camp to describe reality. And this is not just a matter of describing reality, but this is a matter of taking position. This is in a group conflict, right? And this is not something that people react in a neutral way to, but this is something that people literally react to as a form of treason and having given up your tribe. And debates as a whole have as a result not the consequence of detribalizing people and helping them seeing what legitimate points the other side is making, but the opposite. Because to get at what the good points that the aspects that the other side is making visible, you can't come with the conclusions. You have to start with the actual experience that ideas are drawing together. This is very similar, like the way we learn scientific literature is not by studying the papers. The way we learn to do science is by observing the process of doing science itself. So for example, at university, what you do is you don't just read the final papers, right? What you do is you learn step by step how every single step is being made. You learn how to write a scientific paper. You learn sentence by sentence what kind of cognition is involved to actually come to a meaningful statement. And you learn the process of creation itself. And this is not only with science, but this is with music as well. The way you learn to play the piano is not by listening to the final results to the records, but by being initiated by someone who knows how the art is being done, to the individual steps that actually but when put together can help you come up with the final product that you then sell to the world and make visible to the world. This is how we learn in general, and none of that you do in debates. In debates you always have the public facing aspect of something that you're showing. You never have the hidden, the annotation part, if you want, the draft part, how you got there in the first place. This would make you look vulnerable, this would make you look weak, and this would make you look this would make you look like a loser in the context of a debate. Debates structurally, by design, are designed in such a way that they emphasize the public-facing aspect of the whole thing, the result, which should be impressive, which should sway somebody to change their minds, their positions, and not the backside. And the backside is usually where the interesting stuff happens, because or the annotation or draft side of things is where actual experience is being collected together, condensed, and then expressed through abstractions to be shared with a broader world. And by design, debates are not designed to do that. They do the exact opposite. It's like basically fighting over, at the end of the day, whether you like Baroque music or whether you like jazz music. If you look at just the result as a result, and you start using different criteria by comparing them, how the one is better than the other, you won't get anywhere. To be able to actually bridge the differences in culture here and the differences in approach, you would have to learn to listen, how you properly listen to the one form of music so that it can induce a specific emotional state in you. Because the starting position will be that just as jazz and Baroque music are foreign to you, both will just let you cold and leave you cold. There is nothing for you to feel there, to see there behind it. You have to go through the socialization process itself to actually start seeing what others are seeing behind or hearing behind Baroque music. And this is something that applies to other areas and other disciplines of knowledge acquisition as well. If you don't go through the process of socialization itself, the expressions themselves are meaningless to you. They literally are leaving you cold, and debating on this level, which one is better, is not making things better. It's not helping you understand and feel into the other position and the other side. It's making it worse because it's focusing your mind on the tribal aspect, which is better. And you have such tribal wars even in music. You have people who are extremely fanatic about how you're not allowed to listen to jazz, right? Because it doesn't meet this and this and this and this criterion. And it's very obvious. This is a tribal mindset. And just as you can have it in relatively harmless topics and relatively harmless fights around whether jazz is good or not, right? You can have it about really, really serious topics as well. But the structure is the same. Just as somebody who is just structurally or generally refusing to listen to jazz and get socialized into the context of this music to see what it affords you, as John Vervaeke puts it. You can have the same with more serious, or at least topics that have more social implications. Let's put it that way. And unfortunately, debate culture is basically all the time supporting us into refusing to actually listen, refusing to actually get socialized into the perspective of the other, and always remains on a superficial level of which one is better, right? Which one is more cool, which one is the boss, right? And this doesn't socialize, but it does the opposite. It doesn't teach, it doesn't make you learn, but it basically makes you judge, right? It makes you more judgmental. And the positive affect that we have when we're judgmental, it feels good. Oh, you think like you're in charge of reality and of things. We confuse our positive emotion that we have from being judgmental with having understood something, because having understood something, expanding your mind, comes with a positive emotion as well, but it's a different kind of positive emotion than the positive emotion of being judgmental and thinking that you have figured things out.